gather round me. I know my way is rough and steep, and Jordan fields lie just before me, where souls redeemed shall never sleep. I'm going there to see my Father. I'm going there, no more to roam. I'm only going over Jordan. I'm only going over home. That crown of glory when I get home to that good land. I want to shout down Satan's story in concert with the blood-washed man. I'm going there to see my Father. He said he'd meet me going over Jordan. I'm only going over home. I'm going there to see my Father. He said he'd meet me when I come home. I'm only going over Jordan. I'm only going over home. I'm only going over Jordan. I'm only going over home. I'm only going over
Well, hello, and I've been allowed out and now in Scotland, in the highlands of Scotland. Precisely, we're all looking at Loch Katrina, which is a rather beautiful, beautiful loch that in this area, and it's rather good because you've got the lovely view of the hills behind, and you can see part of the loch, and it is indeed very, very beautiful. And I'm really pleased to be here. We're just beginning a walk that's going to take us up a very steep hill indeed. But before we start that, I want to think about being at ground level, if you like. We're not quite at ground level because we can't get down to the water's edge here very easily. But this will do us to talk about what it means to start at the beginning. You see, if you're going to climb any mountains, you kind of got to start somewhere, and starting at the bottom is the place to be. There's a famous phrase that's attributed to the native North Americans, Chief Seattle, that a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And it's very true in life that if you're going to do anything that has any challenge to it, then you have to begin with that single step. If you think about those stories in the Bible where mountains are, the mountains are the place where the ancient peoples believed that you'd meet God because you were touching God almost. The idea used to be that God is in the sky and we are on the earth. And so if you go to the top of the mountain, you can touch God up there. The Celtic peoples talked about thin places where the gap between heaven and earth was so thin, and the most famous of those is just over to the west of here on the island of Iona, where you have got that beautiful idea of St. Columbus landing there for the first time and the abbey being formed, and it being a place where you are so close to God. So being out in nature is a bit like being close to God. And as we're going to travel up the road, we're going to think about that journey that we make. Now, it might not be in the beautiful surroundings of Loch Katrina or anywhere else. We're just north of Loch Lomond, so if you want to picture where it is, that might help or it might not help. But it is certainly very wonderful indeed. And we're going to be thinking about the beginnings and the depths of the journey. Think about the Bible passages where mountains happened. When Abraham went up the mountain to be challenged way back at that very early days. And then Moses went up the mountain. Going up the mountain is one thing, but you've got to start somewhere. And you've got to be in the place where you need to travel. It's no good here because the edge of the mountain, the steps up the mountain aren't there. But we need to get there. And that's the same in life, that we need to look at those challenges that we have in front of us, but we need to get to the beginning of confronting them, to the beginning of trying to find a way through. So this is my personal challenge today. I'm accompanied by the family who've gone off somewhere or other, but they are there and they will be following me up the path as we go up the hill, up the mountain to the top. And you need to remember the journey goes that way. You've got the starting at the beginning and then you've got the mountainside to climb, but you start at the beginning and the beginning has beauty. If you haven't climbed a mountain, look around you and see the beauty that you've got now in your life. If you've got a particular need or a medical need or job situation or something like that, look around you and see what's beautiful about that. Practice gratitude. Practice saying thank you for what I have, even though you know there is a journey to go on. And that's what we're going to do now. We're going to go on a journey. Come with me. I'm ready. I've got my boots on. I've got my hat on. I've got my anti-midge and anti-tick cream on. I've got my rucksack. I've got my sandwiches. So I'm all set. So if you're ready, let's go now.
Genesis. Out of black nothingness and emptiness, void and blank, streaks of apricot and light blue, apple green, sandy yellow, mud brown, ochre and rust, glowing faintly, your hands sketching, dancing, delicately, daintily, guiding and controlling, gently breathing, speaking as sun and moon came into embryonic existence. Planets and stars speckled across the seemingly endless space of sky, forming clouds and rain scattering the vastness. Patterns and shapes created by bodies of water, salt or fresh, marsh of peat, reeds nodding their heads to accompany the movement of water by the breeze. Mangrove and swamp, quiet, slow-moving streams. Estuary populated by slender, long-legged, black and white patched avocets. Rivers home of graceful swans and elegant and dapper cranes and herons. Cheeky red-splashed robins nipping about the trees and fences. Lochs girdled by majestic mountains draped by snow. Raging, foaming seas and oceans filled with marine life. Land masses of desert, plains, steppes and tundra, forest and meadow, each with diverse plants and creatures. You breathed and spoke and played and gestured and danced. Genesis.
So have you kept up? That's good. Oh, well done. You've kept up. It was a bit steep and a bit hairy through all that bracken. Some of that was taller than us. We said to Margaret it's a good job she'd got a pink hat on because we'd have never seen her in the midst of it. So it was very tall bracken, but we're here about just under halfway up the hill now. So I thought it's a good time for a break and a chance to stop and think. You can still see the loch over there, and it's still looking very beautiful, and it's a lovely day. It's about 21, 22 degrees here, so we're in a lucky place really, because I know that down south it's much hotter today, but this is a good day for walking because it's just not too hot, but it is lovely, and it's got some beautiful blue sky and a few wispy clouds as well, just to make it perfect. So a little bit more about this mountain thing. When Jesus went up the mountain with his friends, his disciples, he went up on that day of transfiguration, we call it. And it's a fascinating story. I love this story because in many ways it's very weird, and in other ways it's quite fantastic. You see, Jesus went up, and he went up to the top of the mountain into the clouds, and as we heard in our reading, he met up with Moses and Elijah. The clouds descended, and he met up with Moses and Elijah, and it was Peter, wasn't it, who just didn't know what to do, so he did his kind of humanly thing. He built a booth, he built a shed, a hut. That's what he wanted to do, build a hut for Jesus and the others to protect them. And you can see that's a sort of natural reaction when you're not sure what's going on and you're in a state of panic. You do things like that. It's me. I usually bake a cake, or I go and do something practical when I'm in a state of shock like that. And I don't know what you do when you're in a state of not knowing what on earth is going on. But here we are in this lovely place, thinking about this special encounter between Jesus and Moses and Elijah. Now, if you look at the scriptures and you look at the way in which it's developed in the New Testament, it really is saying about Elijah and Moses, the giver of the law, Elijah allegedly the only man never to die, never to get anywhere, because if you remember, he went up into heaven in a chariot of fire rather than dying. And then you've got the prophets there with Moses and Elijah, and then you've got Jesus. And Jesus is kind of, the story is telling us that Jesus is in a sense equal but better than these, because he is God's answer to the world, which is a fantastic thought, that he's God's answer to the world. But meantime, he didn't go on his own. He didn't make this an exclusive experience. He invited his friends along, and the friends were just shocked. They were in absolute awe. And as I say, they didn't know what to do. And when they came down the hill, I bet they were rehearsing in their head, what on earth are we going to tell people? They're not going to believe what's just happened. It's too ridiculous to be true and too marvellous to be true. But that experience coming down the mountain was quite something. I bet when they came down, the people wanted to know all about it, and they probably didn't know what to say. They probably didn't know what to say because it was such a profound experience. And it's in life, we have sometimes those profound experiences that we can't tell people about. That there's a psychological writer that talks about this as being mysterious and majestic, and mysterious tremendum. He talks about it in Latin, and it's a kind of a tremendous experience that's kind of almost like an out-of-body experience, where you're in a place and that place is just so fantastic and so marvellous. So we've been climbing mountains, and they can be difficult mountains to climb, and believe me, that's been quite tricky. So they can be difficult and they can be hard, but they can also be mountains that bring you great joy and great blessing. Just like those disciples following Jesus, they were not the same when they came down from that mountain. Moses going up the mountain and giving the commandments up there, the people that went there with him were not the same. And then the same with Jesus up the mountain, and the Beatitudes and the giving of the good news. Blessed are the poor, blessed are the meek, and so on. You can read those for yourself if you want to in Matthew chapter 5. But the point is that we are travelling. We are on this journey together. We are travelling up a hill, a mountain, whatever it is we're doing. We're doing it together. And I think it's good to go with other people. On this journey so far, I've been shouting out, "Come on, Margaret, catch up," which is the usual slogan. But she gets there, which is good. And we just have to have a few pauses. We have more pauses than our boys because we're considerably older than they are. And And then you get rewarded when you stop to breathe with these fantastic, fantastic views. And this is just amazing.
6 days later, Jesus took with him Peter and James and his brother John and led them up a high mountain by themselves. And he was transfigured before them, and his face shone like the sun, and his clothes became dazzling white. Suddenly there appeared to them Moses and Elijah talking with him. Then Peter said to Jesus, "Lord, it is good for us to be here. If you wish, we will make 3 dwellings. Here, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." While he was still speaking, suddenly a bright cloud overshadowed them. And from the cloud a voice said, "This is my Son, the beloved. With him I am well pleased. Listen to him." When the disciples heard this, they fell to the ground and were overcome by fear. But Jesus came and touched them, saying, "Get up and do not be afraid." And when they looked up, they saw no one except Jesus himself alone. As they were coming down the mountain, Jesus ordered them, "Tell no one about the vision until the Son of Man has been raised from the dead." And the disciples asked him, "Why then do the scribes say that Elijah must come first?" He replied, "Elijah is indeed coming and will restore all things. But I tell you that Elijah has already come, and they did not recognize him, but they did to him whatever they pleased. So also the Son of Man is about to suffer at their hands." Then the disciples understood that he was speaking to them about John the Baptist. That's the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.
Well, that was entertaining. Climbing through bracken, I got a little lost on the track, ended up through bracken that was taller than me, eventually found the rest of the group who were nonchalantly sitting there having a lovely time laughing at me. So that was one thing. We now got to the top, and the top was fantastic views, and it's clear that the midges and the flying ants had decided they liked the view too, and it was so full of ants and midges that couldn't stay. So we've moved a tiny bit down. There's an old mine shaft here, and there's a lovely view of the hills and all around, and there are still plenty of midges, so I'm not going to hang around because we shouldn't really, because we don't want to be bitten to pieces, but for you I'll spend a few moments. You know, we've made it to the top with a few detours, a few changes, and a few other things to follow. But that was the thing about the story we heard in our Bible reading, that the unexpected takes over sometimes, and it was tremendous. And whilst I wasn't that keen on ploughing through bracken and climbing up through heather and all sorts of things, there's a sense of joy and mystery and wonder about what is around you, and that is the wonder of creation, that it always surprises, it always enlightens. And if you want to take anything about your journey, your journey up the mountain, if you like, whatever your issue is or whatever your journey is, then actually, you know, God is there. I got there with his help and a little bit of aid from the Ordnance Survey map. I got there, and we're here, and we're rewarded with the beauty around us. This is the most spectacular spot. This is like touching heaven, like touching and meeting God in these places. And I guess my encouragement to you is to take some time to go and meet God somewhere. Just go and meet up for God. It could be anywhere. You could meet up with God in your back garden, in your outside somewhere. You could just go to your local park, or you could go somewhere more adventurous. You could come climbing up a mountain and flashing all these blinking midges away. So I'm not going to stay long, but you could meet God wherever you are, because God's already there. He's ready to meet you in whatever you're doing. And on that journey, he'll walk up with you. He'll be with you all the way. He'll be your support, your friend, and your guide. And if we've learnt anything from a series about the wonders of creation, I think it's good to enjoy the life that God has given. One of the challenges that is given to people in their daily life is to learn to show gratitude. Think about what you want to say thank you for today. And I have to say thank you for this beautiful, beautiful scenery. Worn and trod and worked, and the mine shaft would show that for years in the past it's been hard working for some people. But to give thanks for those who kept and preserved this beautiful landscape so that we can enjoy it. And now I'm not going to enjoy it anymore because these midges are getting worse. See you again another time. God bless. We all have mountains to climb. We all have times when it's hard, because it's not easy climbing mountains, and it's not easy walking down them either. In this time of prayer, perhaps you'd like to bring to God some of the mountains that you are climbing and facing, and also some of the mountains other people are facing, whether that's through health, through mental health, through physical disabilities, or whether it's simply through just having a rotten time. Let's pray for other people as well as we pray for ourselves in this time.
Rock of ages, cleft for me, let me hide myself in thee. Let the water and the blood from thy wounded side which flowed be of sin the double cure. Save from wrath and make me pure. The labours of my hands can fulfill thy law's demands. Could my zeal no respite know? Rock of Ages, cleft for me. Let me hide myself in thee. Let me hide myself in thee. Let me hide myself in thee. Let me hide myself in thee.
So here we are, nearly at the end of our walk, and it seems like a good spot to stop with such a beautiful view behind me. So it's great stuff, and I hope you've enjoyed the walk, and I haven't worn you out too much on this journey. Anyway, we're looking forward to getting to the tea room in a few minutes, which is rather good. But just before I do that, a question. What mountains are you climbing at the moment? What's causing you issues in your life? Or what joys are you following when you climb that mountain? Just remember that in all those things, God is there with you. Whatever the issues, even if you're stuck in bracken or being eaten alive by midges, God is still there with you. So be blessed in all that you do.